So tell me about one area where you think most manufacturers could improve their performance if they want to improve their revenue growth.
If you're not doing the basic requirements that your customer wants you to do, if you're not trustworthy, if you don't have really good customer service, on-time case completion for us is how quick are we delivering a quote? How quick are we turning a purchase order into a sales order, getting that confirmation back to that client? How quick are we responding to those emails? The simple form is if an email comes in and it comes in at 11 a.m. and we get back to that person at 11:25 a.m., was that the time frame that needed, not when it was next up in my inbox. No, when did the customer actually send the email? Because that's what they're looking at, is the response time from when they sent it, not when I was able to actually get to it and start processing the quote.
Hello and welcome to the Marketing Blender Show. I'm your host, Daisy McCarty, one of our fractional CMOs here at the Marketing Blender. And today I have special guest Trey Thompson, president of Star Industries, in the studio with me today. Welcome to the show, Trey.
Thanks for having me.
So Star Industries is a local manufacturer right here in the DFW area, and they make attachments for heavy equipment like skid steers, telehandlers, and cranes. So Trey, you and I both have a love for manufacturing.
Yep.
And you have a long history in the manufacturing industry. You've been with Star for 6 years, but tell me about what you were doing before that.
Like all the way back to while I was a biology and chemistry major?
No, let's start with your metal fabrication background.
I've been in manufacturing now for 25 years, but it came with such a weird route. But I was involved in a family business for about 20 years and then have consulted with 3 or 4 other different type of manufacturing businesses along the way too. And I was basically right out of school and started to get into the metal business. Absolutely love it. Had no clue that's where I was going to go.
So talk to me about what it is about manufacturing that lights you up.
As I've become a little wiser, I would tell you it's about the processes and the systems. I love taking a system and seeing how you perfect it, how you build better processes. It's obviously made of people, right? And so you've got to understand both the process side of it and how people can interact with it and engage with it. So that teamwork piece of it is really cool too. But the process about how you scale a process has always been my joy and my passion.
I like it that it's tangible processes. So yes, there's more and more technology and cloud architecture, at some level, but you can put your hands on it. You can see, oh, this is where things are falling apart. You can walk a shop floor and say, it makes more sense for this to be there. So it's that satisfaction of it's problem solving in real time, and it's very tangible.
Without a doubt, yeah. And then you can see product if you're moving through an assembly line, you can see where product starts bottlenecking, and you can see, okay, how do I motivate that? How do I change that? Enhance the system. Don't ask the people just to work harder, faster, but how do I enhance that process to streamline a little bit better? And then ultimately, it's like pulling levers. And then you say, okay, if I pull this lever a little bit, only do one at a time, will it make a difference in what we're looking at in the business? And usually you can figure it out.
For sure. Yeah. So you've had a variety of roles over the years. You've been in business development, you've been in sales, you've been in leadership. Tell me about one of the most important lessons you've learned in leadership.
Oh, it's people, without a doubt. I think building culture, trying to understand the right teamwork, what makes a team develop and work in the right culture together. It's a oxymoron now, but it's getting the right people in the right seats on the bus, without a doubt. And I've really enjoyed that. Find really talented people to work around to solve our really fun problems together. That's what we enjoy doing. And so, but the people make the business. It's the only asset that really appreciates inside the business. And so if you can figure out that teamwork component, you can almost go solve any problem in any business if you got the right team.
I agree with that. So 6 years with Star Industries, how much growth has the company seen over that time? Man,
it's been fun. We've when I got there, it was in 2019. Star's doubled in size. We've added some people. We haven't doubled the personnel side of it, but we definitely have doubled the revenue side of the business and reached a lot more clients. So, and the best thing about it is when I got to come to Star, I actually interviewed several clients before I even started there, and was acting as a consultant and got to attend some trade shows. And was able to ask clients, like, what do you like about Star? It's like, man, these guys are great. They're easy to do business with. They do really good quality products. So all the foundational stuff was there. We just needed to go in and start tweaking things a little bit, and we just unlocked some things that our clients really wanted us to unlock.
That's a nice thing to hear about a company you're thinking about becoming a part of, is that there's not some horrible underlying toxic thing. It's just, take something amazing and optimize it.
That's exactly what it was. And they had just had such a strong reputation in the industry and all the things that you want. Like, they pretty much do what they say they're going to do. The product lasts. It's built like a Sherman tank. That's what we need. They do it at a competitive price. The thing that they really wanted to see that we weren't doing was, well, what new things are you doing? Mm-hmm. Can you innovate new things? Can you add to your product line? So when your customers are able to tell you that exactly what they want, and if you call them up and say, hey, by the way, we're offering this new thing, more than likely you're going to buy it from you.
Right.
Yeah.
We want a new thing, and specifically we want to buy it from you. So
right.
That pre-built customer base is
right.
excellent. So doubling revenue growth in 6 years, that's a big deal. Is there like a high level strategy that you could share around how do you double revenue growth over that kind of time period?
Simple too. Some of it is making sure your clients know what you're offering, right? But that you're going to your clients and asking them what they want. How can I help solve the problem? What are the different things that you're needing in your business right now that you're not getting? There was some really low-hanging fruit for us. Some of it was just systems. So if we could reduce our lead times, we're a manufacturing business, so ultimately customers were calling in and we were quoting a lead time if it was not something that was available in stock. What we kept hearing was, why can't you get it to me sooner? Mm-hmm. And so that became a problem we needed to solve on several different kind of fronts. We didn't have the systems in place necessarily to do that. And so we had to spend some time on the engineering side, on the manufacturing systems side, ultimately to create a better inventory position for ourselves and be able to offer the product for them. So we started doing that. We did some simple things like update the website, just make ourselves better known to our customers, who we are. We've been in business for a long time, but we're doing something a little bit different. Come back and check us out a little bit more.
This is one of the most common things I see with manufacturing companies that have been in business a long time, and I have a lot of clients who fit that profile. They assume that people know who they are. It's like there are so many people who could be buying from you. And if you invest in that brand visibility and just making sure that at every opportunity you're staying top of mind, it makes a massive difference. So obviously getting people the thing that they're asking for and clamoring for faster. Lead times are a big deal. Supply chain has been interesting over the past few years, and how you manage supply chain changes as you grow. Talk to me a little bit about how you've changed supply chain management.
I've learned a lot. And from my previous career, supply chain was quite a bit different than what it is now, and which it makes it so much more interesting. COVID just dramatically changed everything. So our North American supply base was pretty challenged during that, and so we were having to pivot to some global supply chain to understand other potential producers that were out there that were available to us. Now we've done that. We've introduced ourselves to a lot of new suppliers in a global market, but at the same time, we're having to pivot with that with regards to tariffs as well. So it's a dynamic area. So I had to bring in some leadership. I had to bring in some people that really understood that business a lot better, and we had to develop a better inventory management about what we were doing to look further out. No, don't depend on the local supplier always to have the available stock. You've got to be able to have multiple resources. And so we've developed that over time. And in our business, I think like anybody else's, that you're going to have this one widget that can hold up the whole thing. And we're building this attachment, and it could be the chain that we don't have to put the safety mechanism on at the very end of the whole thing. So out of all the 150 components that make up that thing, we're a showstopper if we don't have that one component. And so us to have those backup resources, us to have the extra availability, real-time stock inventory levels have changed drastically because of COVID. So everybody has gotten a little bit heavier with their inventories just to make sure they have a little more assurity and insurance in their supply chain. So, and multiple locations. So we diversified our manufacturing locations and warehousing locations so we can stock product off-site, but readily available for us too. It's a buffer.
In a previous life, I used to work in corporate procurement. I did that for 6 years, and there was always that tension between I want to consolidate my supply chain. I want to make it easier to manage. I want to have my reliable vendors. But then there was also, I have to have 2 or 3 backups for every mission critical item that I may need. So it's interesting to see how more and more companies are looking to mitigate their risk around supply chain because there's just so much uncertainty.
Without a doubt. Yeah, and we do that. We have primaries and we have backups. We have the secondary sources, and you've got to make sure you feed both of them.
You do.
Right. And
so that you're the priority.
Yeah, so you become the priority, and then that they're willing to pick up the phone whenever you call in, and you really do need something. I think having those long-term supply relationships that they can depend on you can depend on them is really good. They're typically a little more transparent in your business and with you about what's going on in their facilities as well. But at the same time, you've got to have those other resources that are up and coming.
At the Marketing Blender, we have fractional CMOs and outsourced marketing teams to drive your success. The two most common problems that we are approached about is how do we break revenue plateaus and accelerate success, or how do we attribute marketing to revenue impact? And the answer is that we build a system, because your marketing should be driving revenue, it should be driving your reputation, and it should be driving resilience. If you want to learn more, check out themarketingblender.com.
So as revenue grows, it's not always the same level of profitability, depending on, how much investment is having to go into that growth. How do you keep revenue profitable as Star Industries grows?
There's several things that we've done. Obviously, we want to look internal before we ever look external. So internal meaning, what can we control that we can help that profitability of the revenue? So for us, making sure that we've got the right suppliers associated. Do we have the most competitive, highest quality, most dependable suppliers aligned with us in the partnership? We've had to make some adjustments in that to find more competitive suppliers. The other thing we always want to just be about continuous improvement. We don't want to just rest on our laurels, because we know, like any industry, our competitors are going to be coming after us. And so we've got to get better at everything that we do. Technology was a very, very large component of that for us. And we kind of built this business. So it's almost like building blocks. We got sales kind of right-sized with how we wanted to have operations, or the operations inside sales. And then we got the production facility kind of right-sized. But then we started involving some technology with better ERP, better visual manufacturing system. Ultimately, what that helped us do was yield a significant more revenue per head. And we were able to do that with a lot of systems. So increased touch time, to kind of decrease some of the other noise that people were having to deal with, because, paper-based systems, whatever they might be, was a distraction from where's the real work. And so that's where we concentrate on. We always want to be better tomorrow. We always are thinking about that.
I think that's an important mindset point for successful manufacturers. It's always going to be a race. You want to be chased, not be the one chasing.
That's right.
So whatever it takes to be in that position, you definitely can't be lazy or indifferent to what's happening around you. And you have to enjoy being the best and being first and doing that in innovation. In terms of what customers enjoy about your products and what they love about your company, obviously there are a lot of things about the attachments themselves. Super heavy duty, really well built, designed for how users will actually use them in the field, because we know construction crews are not they're not delicate in how they use things. But outside of the actual products, what are the other things that your customers care most about that make them continue to choose you?
Man, this sounds simple. We're a business, and this is well before I ever got there, but I absolutely love how we handle this. When you call into Star, more than likely it's going to be a client wanting to talk to somebody in an account management or sales role. 8 out of 10 calls are like that. So there's no receptionist, there's no phone tree. It's an account manager that picks up the phone and immediately starts handling the problems. I have heard over and over again from our clients how much they appreciate that. So as businesses change with technology and they offer different ways to get a hold of people, they just appreciate the real down-home appeal to that from us. The other thing is we grade on that. We grade how quick we process a quote. We grade how quick we answer an email from the client. So, 50% of the stuff comes in by calls, 50% they're reaching out by email. We want to be extremely responsive to them, because we know it's probably an outside sales guy for a rental company, or it's a branch manager that's needing a really quick answer on something. And so the quicker we can help them resolve that problem and literally move that thing off their desk, the more likely they're going to come back and want to work with us. And so that's all a really big piece of how we handle it. Just quick response time, accurate response time, and accurate quotes for what we do.
I think that's an important blend of the practical and the emotional. So there's systems in place and there's scoring and tracking in place to make sure that the practical urgency of what your customer is facing is being addressed.
Right.
But there's also, how does it make your customers feel when they call in? What is the emotional aspect of the experience that they're having? And not all manufacturing companies are thinking about the emotional experience of their customers. They're like, well, behind the scenes, we're doing all this good stuff, right? But they're not communicating it to their customers. So their customers like, I have no idea what's going on. It could be going perfectly well, but they don't know. So having that communication and the deliberate transparency and the accuracy and the speed and, a knowledgeable person picks up. We're not trying to avoid talking to customers because it takes time and it costs money, but instead seeking to engage and serve. So I love that piece. Right. And do you think that's something that most manufacturers could benefit from thinking about when they're looking at improving process, is that piece of it?
I would say just think about your view of what happens in your normal life. Where do you really enjoy having a call with a service provider that maybe is at your house, like whoever's doing your internet service, who's doing your electricity? Who do you really enjoy talking to? Because that's where I think people grade us. They don't grade, if you're thinking about some of those, most of those are probably bad thoughts that are coming to your head about, man, if I've got to call my cell phone company and talk to them about my plans, it's murder to have to do that, right? And so we try to think about, they're wanting to, what does it take for them to want to engage with us? And we give them, that was refreshing. Right. I enjoyed that conversation, And so we don't want to compare just to our competitors in our industry, because that's maybe not who we should be comparing ourselves to. I want to compare myself to, how does AT&T do it? Am I much more enjoyable to do business with because I got a hold of a person today, right? And so that's how we really think about it. And we think that, I think anybody can benefit from that, because our world is tending to move a different direction with that, with most of our service providers or people that we buy stuff from. Well, how do we go against the grain? And how do we make it really easy and enjoyable to do business with us? That's how we think about it.
And of course, we have marketing jargon for that. So what you're describing is it's brand experience.
Yeah.
And people remember brand experience. And you're correct. They are comparing you to how easy is everything else. Another reason to look at how are you using technology in that communication. I know you and I have been talking about live chat.
Right.
Should we do it? Should we not? It's all going to come down to how does it measure up to what people think a live chat experience should be like? Because they're definitely comparing you to very technology-based companies that are really, really good at doing things like that. So making sure you're maintaining that high touch, high response within a live chat channel, it could give you a great deal of benefit, because it's, and now they're even easier to get in touch with, and it's on my terms through whatever channels I want. The flip side is, if it's not done well, you take all that brand experience and that goodwill and you start diluting and destroying it.
Right. Yeah. And we do not want to lose the personal touch. That's the reservation about that. I completely agree. And but are we not staying with the current technology that most people are engaging with? So that's the battle. I love it. It's a good problem to look into.
It is, definitely. And a good way to differentiate from your competitors as well, because most manufacturers are so far behind with technology and how they implement it. So tell me about one area where you think most manufacturers could improve their performance if they want to improve their revenue growth.
Well, I always think about the table stakes, and I think about the things that, if you're not doing the basic requirements that your customer wants you to do, meaning if you're not trustworthy, if you don't have really good customer service in handling the basic things, that's almost the price of the ticket for admission, man, get that shored up. Those are and I remember being in a business before where we weren't. Our on-time delivery was not great. And so the basic things like that are really important. And I think you can grade all that. You can know what your customer is experiencing before they experiencing by how you're grading, what potential KPIs that you have in your business. For us, those on-time case completions, I think, is pretty interesting. And on-time case completion for us is, how quick are we delivering a quote? How quick are we turning a purchase order into a sales order, getting that confirmation back to that client? How quick are we responding to those emails? A lot of clients, I would tell you, a lot of other people in manufacturing probably aren't grading that. And We do that. I mean, and the simple form is if an email comes in and it comes in at 11 a.m. and we get back to that person at 11:25 a.m., was that the time frame that needed? Not when it was next up on my inbox. No, when did the customer actually send the email? Because that's what they're looking at, is the response time from when they sent it, not when I was able to actually get to it and start processing the quote. So I think those are kind of table stake type things that people take for granted. But if you do the blocking and tackling correct, you become trustworthy. And I think that's the key thing. So I would look really up front in your service aspect, those different components of it, good quality, good dependability, good response time, to see how well you're doing with there. And if you're not, really spend some time shoring that up, because you can spend a lot of money, a lot of different places. And if you're not getting the basics right, you're not going to create the right brand experience, right? To come
For
back
sure.
to. Yeah.
I think there's a piece in here around marketing and sales alignment that's actually very important, because it's easy to make the assumption that if someone's in a sales team or part of that organization, that every potential sale or lead that comes in is, well, obviously that's the most important thing that they're going to work on or they're going to respond to. And actually, there can be all kinds of different behaviors that people have around how they manage what's coming in. So creating visibility around that and standards of this is how we prioritize activities. So on the marketing side, if there's, if leads are being driven through the website or through other sources, from the marketing perspective, of course, we're paying money. It's costing effort and time to get this stuff at the top of the funnel. Well, of course, the sales team is going to treat that with the value that it actually has. But it has to be documented. It has to be explicitly, this is the value of the incoming opportunity, and this is how it should be prioritized. So yeah. I like that it's all process optimization. So talk to me about some of the decisions that heavy equipment manufacturers are facing right now. There is a lot of stuff going on that's impacting how people make decisions. And some of it, we don't know from one day to the next or 1 week to the next what's going to be happening. So what are some of the things that you see that people are having to rethink?
Yeah, it's a very dynamic market, without a doubt. Our industry has definitely a global supply chain footprint. And so the impact of our current tariff environment is pretty challenging. And I see people making decisions right now about where they're going to source their product from, where they're going to manufacture their product from. They've gone to maybe a lower cost country to work with, and now that dynamic is completely changing. And so there's a lot of things that I would say are up in the air as they watch this unfold with the negotiations that our White House is doing right now. And so time will tell a little bit about if there's more permanent moves. The interesting thing I heard a gentleman in our industry, Elliot Vigil, actually talk about the other day was the dynamic of if the cost of the equipment goes up quite a bit, the end user that might be trying to make a decision between, do I buy that piece of equipment or like a skid steer? Do I go buy that skid steer now because the elevated cost associated with tariffs, raw material prices that made that go up as well? Or now do I go rent it? Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that. We're seeing a shift right now more towards rental. That's where a lot of our product goes into, is the rental fleet, because they're seeing this exponential increase on the equipment itself. And so maybe they don't need it to the extent they did. Financial terms, interest rates are going to affect that decision as well. But the ultimate cost right now is going to rise. And so rental might be a better option for them too.
That could be true. You might also see the aftermarket getting more attention. Maybe I'll buy a used one and see if I can keep it running. I know one of Star Industries customers that I talked to late last year, they use older equipment. It's like we don't like any of the newer models of this or that, so they've had stuff in their fleet for 20 years and they just keep repairing it.
That's right.
So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a little bit earlier on around the customer-driven development and innovation that you have. Do you have a system around collecting that customer feedback so you're continuously gathering insights into what you should be working on next?
We do, but it could use some enhancement. There's no doubt about it. So we're collecting information. All of our sales team, our account managers are collecting that information on a regular basis. And not only for what our clients are telling us, but what they see in the marketplace too. And so we have repositories for that where we say, okay, what's maybe one of the next things that we want to go develop, because we continue to hear that this is a problem that we need to go solve. Almost all of our product was made that way. We're just solving problems, right? Clients were calling in, hey, have you ever thought about this? And then we think, okay, is this going to be a one-off deal, or is this really a problem that a lot of people are having the same issue with? So we collect that repository and we review it on a regular basis. But just client engagement really tells you a lot about what that is. And then I geek out on job sites now. I was not that guy before, but I look at job sites on a regular basis now. And you're just watching these, guys and gals out working on a construction site and wondering, okay, how do I make that safer? How do I make that more efficient for what they're doing? It's a huge manual, labor-intensive industry, and there's opportunities for us to go help solve that. We think of safety first, and then we think of efficiency next. So,
For sure. It's funny. I work with so many technology companies and startups who have created a solution in search of a problem.
yeah,
And the practical thing about manufacturing is you can always actually just identify. There's so many more things that are actual problems that you can build solutions for. So definitely a fan of that customer-driven innovation where you're solving the things that your customers actually know that are a problem, and you're not having to educate around the fact that they even have a problem. So in terms of market expansion, what are some of the ways you're working with your dealers and your distribution partners to help you reach more customers?
I think it goes back to one of the simple things is how quick can we get our product to our clients. So our business is really, it's a paradigm shift in our business this last year as we developed some of the systems and technology to be able to understand stocking levels better, inventory management levels better. So we've expanded quite a bit where we were only a one facility business until this last year. And now we're doing distribution out of 2 other sites, so 3 total, and soon to be a 4th. So we're trying to get our product closer to where our market is. And that's all over the United States and Canada. And we really have attuned well to what do our clients want and how quick do they really need some stuff. And there's different item categories that makes more sense than others. And so where we can develop that stock, we're putting it out there. So now the guy that's up in New York State and he calls and he needs a pair of forks or he needs a bucket safety work platform, instead of it being shipped out of Fort Worth, Texas now, and it maybe is 4 to 5 day transit, now it's located up really close to him and it's 1 to 2 days away. And that helps a lot. So speed to market was something we kept on hearing over and over again. Give us more availability. Don't tell me 2 weeks. Tell me next day. Okay.
Right.
So, and I think we're all accustomed to that. Like Amazon has really made us all addicted.
It's their fault.
Yeah, it is their fault. Right. And so I think about that. And again, it kind of goes back to don't compare yourself to your competitors. Compare yourself to the way you like to do business, whether personally or professionally. And that opens up so many other people. And Amazon is one of them. And we really think about that. What does it take? If Amazon can do it, why can't I do that with my stuff? And that's what we're trying right now. And our clients have really enjoyed that.
Excellent. So lots and lots of talk around people, around process, around improvements. Technology is also changing how manufacturing is done, whether it's, whether it's on the floor or whether it's how you run things behind the scenes. Like you have data around what should I have at each shipping location based on demand in that region and things like that.
Right.
Talk to me about the digital tools, the technology, data, automation. What are you investing in order to take your manufacturing organization forward?
Yeah, so systems has probably been our biggest push over the last couple of years, and that's what created the paradigm shift in our business. We could understand really what our inventory levels were. So it's taken us 4 or 5 years to get our bill of materials correct, ultimately to enter into the ERP correctly. Once we got that, and once we really understood the bill of materials and the demand that it was going to create, we were able to go create stocking levels for the product. So we outlined that engine, if you will, that ERP engine for the business. But then I've never been a fan in a manufacturing environment of what the scheduling systems come from the ERP. sorry, ERP people, but that those systems are really, really tough. You really want to mold it to what works well in your business. And so I tend to run a manufacturing business on an infinite backwards schedule versus a finite schedule, except for one particular area where we always want to manage what we call the constraint. And so we've developed the system around a scheduling system around our constraint. And we have now display boards out on the shop floor. It's all visual manufacturing, no more paper, if you will, out on the shop floor. And we make it very, very simple. Although it's complex, it's very simple for our employees to understand what's the next most important thing I'm supposed to work on. And they work what they call top down. And our guys, our teams are fantastic at understanding these are the right things in the right order that I need to work. And it's the idea is a single priority system. So we're protecting the due date that we've committed to the client by making a single priority, meaning the laser shop doesn't have a different priority system than the weld shop. And the weld shop doesn't have a different priority system than what assembly does. They're all one drum beat. And so if weld works it and it's the next most important thing for the business, as soon as weld completes it in the next operation, it'll go to the top of that operations board and they'll work it next. It's not in a queue now 20 deep.
Right.
So it's a lot of fun. The technology side to simplify business and it looks so simple on the shop floor, the complexity that goes into it behind the scenes, right? But I think that's where people really start creating scale is by putting the plan together for a really complex system, but how do you simplify that for your teams on the shop floor? And the other thing is your teams really want to know, did I really accomplish what I was supposed to today? Did I win?
What am I being measured on? How do I know?
Yeah, how do I know? How do I know I put in a good day's work for what it was that not only I feel like that, but the company feels the same way.
And the customer feels the same way.
And the customer, yeah, exactly, and the whole team. And so we made that really simple. There's scorecards for that, for the teams, and they know what they got to go attain, and they know they got to work it in the right sequence. And man, they know at the end of the day, they can high five that, man, we did what we were supposed to do, not only at our department, which served the larger purpose, but did the whole team succeed?
Excellent.
Yeah.
So speaking of scorecards, what are the key metrics that you always go back to when you're looking at driving revenue growth?
Yeah, I think the leading indicators ultimately determine that. So if we look after the equal sign to where revenue ends up, you've missed the game, right? So it's all the predictive indicators, leading indicators that we do in the business are really important to us. So first and foremost, you've got to make sure you're servicing your client with the account management stuff, the service type stuff really, really well on a daily basis. So that's all on-time case completion for us. We understand how quick we're processing quotes and orders and so forth. If we're doing that really well, more people are going to call back. The other thing is all of our outbound activity with salespeople internally, we're grading that. We're paying attention to how many calls we're doing per day, how much we're capturing in terms of quote volumes, what are our quote win percentages. Those all create the funnel for what we're trying to do. And now ahead of all that, with you guys' help this year, is all the marketing funnel, right? How much activity are we driving to our website? How many people are searching for our products, both organic and inorganic? Are we at least presenting ourselves out there in the right way that drives more of that phone traffic or email traffic that comes to their business and puts it top of mind for our clients?
Absolutely. And you have some big competitors in your space.
Yeah.
And we want them chasing us this time next year.
That's
right. They're like, man,
right.
Star keeps taking our business.
That's right. We're going the right way. Yeah, we want to make that a household name for some of those guys, right?
For sure. So speaking of the use of technology and the use of data insights, the metrics that you're tracking, and the role of data in your decision making, are there any specific things your team is using in terms of data analytics to uncover new revenue opportunities or to make your revenue more profitable?
The thing that's top of mind right now for our business is predictive inventory levels. And so we know that if we have the right product at the right time, somebody's going to buy it. And so one of our biggest challenges is forecasting out what I need to have on the shelf 3 months from now, 4 months from now, and in what location. Mm-hmm. And there's certain products that there's going to be more demand for that than others. And so we're starting to use some AI tools right now to help us understand predictive inventory, not only the seasonality of our business, because we do have some seasonality to it, but also to understand, okay, based upon how much we quoted of this particular product, we won this much, but we lost these other quotes because of our lead time associated. So what if we invested in more inventory of those things? And so there's some AI tools out there that we're really starting to scratch the surface on that is a lot of fun to help us on the predictive inventory piece of it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, final question. What's the next big expansion step for Star Industries?
The thing that we're just very focused on right now is getting our distribution facilities taken care of. So we're going to finish that in 2025, and then we're coming back home to build out a new facility. We think that our main facility, although she's been good to us, we really need to do some work internally to provide really the right tools for our staff. And some of that's just absolute space related. Good problems, to be honest with you. But right now, my poor team is stuffing things everywhere right now on our shop floor and making the best they can do with what they've been given. And we really want to enhance that. So I think a new manufacturing facility is close to mind for starting in 26.
All right, exciting plans. And we need to document the whole thing because that's great social content.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Trey, for joining us today. It's been excellent to talk with you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Marketing Blender Show. We have several episodes around manufacturing, including how to do B2B marketing for manufacturing. So please check out our channel, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Onward and upward.